Hey everybody, welcome back to Hurricanes Herbs. My name's EJ, this is Mati, and we're here today to show you how my babies live. So a lot of you can see on my Instagram, how my adults live. They live in generally decent sized enclosures, anywhere from a 4x2 by 18 to a 6x2 by 18. Eventually I'll bump some up to a 8x2 by 18. And that will give them, enough room for them to really stretch out, stretch their scales, utilize their muscles, enjoy some climbing, and grow those big old brains. So I like to emulate that with the baby enclosures as well. And because boas are a semi-arboreal species, I like to give them a decent amount of climbing room, especially as babies, because they're way more inclined to climb as tiny tots than they are as giants. Some of my bigger girls climb a whole lot less given their size, and as they've gotten older, they're just less invested in climbing, whereas my babies are forever up on high perches or in their branches. They only sometimes go into their hides. So I wanted to show you today how my little guys live. So as you can see next to me, I have, plastic tubs that are in a rack system, but they average on size from about 9 by 15 by about 12 or 13. It varies a good bit because I had to get different style tubs at different times. Target forever is changing their supplier and changing their styles. So as with the supply chain, so goes my nation. But I have a wide range of different sizes and styles, but it averages about that size. So for someone like Mati here, she's best off in one of these guys or this one. Eventually she'll get bumped up to a 2x2 by 15 and have more outgrow room as she gets bigger, since she's putting on a decent amount of size of her in her first year. So that's one thing. So I go by size and added height for my babies. And then I also set up ambient lighting. So obviously the insides, obviously the insides of these enclosures don't have individual lighting as my adult enclosures do. My adult enclosures have LED grow lights. They, provide fake sunlight for the plants and infrared lighting, and it's delightful. Now, it's not quite what infrared lighting they would really, really, truly benefit from, but it's sufficient for now until I can upgrade everybody in the future. But for the little guys, I basically set up a little LED light, as you can see right here, and it doesn't do a ton, but it does give them a proper day-night cycle. I also happen to have grow lights all over my reptile room, so there's ambient lighting everywhere, so nobody's in the dark. Right? We don't want darkness. But yeah, so then inside of the enclosures is next. So when you're setting up the inside of your baby enclosure, you want to make sure that you have, a decent hide, you have a water bowl, those are your basic things. And then from there you can kind of pack it on top. So I like to go out into the woods, find myself some nice branches, trim them to size, and pop them in there. So everything's kind of strategically laid out inside of the enclosure so that the branches are angled and then some are vertical across. That way the babies can climb up, perch, bask, do whatever it is that makes them happy, and then zip back down to the bottom when they want to either warm up or when they want to hide while they're in shed. This design also gives them a good gradient. So I went a little overkill with the size of my heat tape, as I think you can see behind me. You don't need to use that much heat tape in order to get it to the temperatures you need. But I happen to have it, and I was, not really feeling like messing around with it too much. Plus my reptile room gets decently cold in the winter. The ambient temperature down here drops to about 68. So I wanted to make sure that they were covered in all cases. And then I have my thermostat set to an appropriate temperature to keep their warm spot, around 86, 87, without bumping it up too high. And then in the summer, I drop it down so that they don't cook. It's a whole calibration thing, and my calibration is going to be very different from your calibration, depending on how you keep your room. So, that's neither here nor there as for the topics of this video, but make sure you have a heat source. Make sure that you have your heat source attached to a thermostat. Super important. I am going to take you guys on a little tour of how I set up Mati's house. That way you can see how I plant the sticks and, organize everything so that it all flows and everything fits. It's super uncomplicated, just figured I'd give you a zoom in on it. So, hope you like it. So to recap, setting up your baby Bubba enclosure. I recommend having a tub from somewhere like Target or someplace similar that has a decent amount of height to it. That way you have plenty of room to set up your hides, your water bowl, your branches, and then your heat source can go outside of that. And then everybody gets to come out. Yes, you do. Everybody gets to come out for some enrichment. My little ones actually really love climbing on this rock wall that I happen to have just permanently installed in my house because my house is ancient, so I have like some of the original stonework. So that's pretty cool. So my babies thoroughly enjoy climbing on it when they have the opportunity. So, you know, about once a week, maybe every 2 weeks, I let everybody come out for a little while and climb on the wall and do their thing. But yeah, so that's how we live. That's how we do. Yeah. Mati says thank you for stopping in. I also appreciate you guys watching. I hope this helps a little bit, point you in a direction, and I hope you stop back in next time. Have a good one.